Hey everybody, welcome to the Art of Comics. I am so excited about this series, the Alex Toth series. This is episode 6, and I'm so excited to talk about Zorro. Zorro is one of his most well-known projects that he did, and I want to go into this book. This book is specifically, we're going to kind of look into, this was produced by Image Comics, about $20 back in the day. I think you can still find this. It might be out of print, I'm not sure about that, to be honest, when this was printed, but take a look at it. It's probably reprinted in some other formats as well. Yeah, this was second printing in 2001, so I'm sure long out of print, but you can probably find it. Probably not too bad price-wise. I love this. This is a great piece of work. Let's go ahead and dive into Zorro. So if you remember our last episode, he's working for Western/Dell Comics at the time, and he got this assignment. So Western Dell had these agreements with a lot of Disney TV work, and so Disney had a show, a Zorro TV show, and they were doing a comic series, a strip based out of it. And so he got this assignment from the art director at Western, and this was something he jumped at. He loved Zorro as a kid, loved the Errol Flynn movies, the swashbuckling stuff. So this was like a dream project for Alex. He was all over this. He got to go to the studio. He got to watch some of the shows. He did a lot of research. I mean, he was really into this project, and it really shows some really great work of his. We got a little introduction by Mr. Chaikin. Chats a little bit about him, and then we look a little bit. He kind of talks a little bit about the process. So this was a process, a book, a series that he did that he loved, and it turned into hate. So it slowly kind of worked into something he loathed because of the writing teams that he was working with. He did not agree with some of their choices in writing and their choices in storytelling. There was just these elements of the comic that he just couldn't deal with, and he just thought it was clunky and thought it was bad. And so he would actually rewrite scenes. He would redraw things. He would change it up to the point where it got him in serious trouble with the company and his management. So that's the way Alex was. He was all about telling the best story, and if that meant rewriting people's work or changing it, he would do that for the sake of the art, I guess he would say, or you would think. But, people are involved, humans are involved, egos, and you can't just go around rewriting stuff, right? If I wrote a script and someone just rewrote it, that could be an issue. So I understand both sides of it. Let's just look into it. This was all published black and white. The issue with this, I think some may have nowadays, is that these are little short strip stories. They're about 6, 8 pages, 10 pages at the most. So they're short little stories. They do add upon each other, but they are short. So it makes it sometimes a little more... in a way, it's easier to read because they're short, but also maybe it doesn't have the continuity. We want this big graphic novel. We don't get that. There is some continuity within the strips, and as you go to multiple strips, you'll see characters that, something happened earlier, that condition will stay upon them, like the Comandante. But it's pretty much like these new short little stories, which I like, but some people might not dig. This was all black and white, as you can tell. Alex went back and did the tones, so he did the gray tones on here. The gray, wash, I guess. So it's just a single tone. And just check out the rendering. There was a guy who commented on episode 5. And I don't remember his handle on YouTube. And I respect the guy for his comment. I appreciate him talking and everything. But he just saw Alex Toth as decent. And he could not understand why all the hullabaloo about him. And if you look at this book and you just say, this is decent, I don't get it, then I just don't know what to say to you. I don't really know how to express how good this is. All I can say is that the masters The comic book people who know comic books recognize this guy. Okay? So if you like anybody, Bernie Wrightson, Jim Lee, whoever, right? Whoever is your top guy, they know Alex Toth and they say he's the best, right? So that's what I can say to those guys who just see him as decent. It's like, well, the guys you worship this guy. So think about it. You don't know something, right? That's all I can say. I'm not saying that in a heated way. I'm just saying this guy has a simplicity, a reductive way to make things the most clear, conveying the most information that a guy can make. It's just, there's no noodling, there's no extra lines, but it is clear, it is expressive, and it tells a story that is dynamic, you know? I'm just flipping this here. Look at this beautiful panel. You got this shot, this long shot. You got this kind of two shot here, but then you put this another character here. It didn't need to be there, but just adds depth. Then you go to a silhouette, right? And then you move into this shot, kind of a medium, front on, then a side, another angle, but it's not straight on, it's kind of down. I mean, and then a headshot. It's just 3/4. You know, the stuff is, the eye moves. I mean, it's just like brilliant stuff. Yeah, a lot of the stuff is just, until you try to make a comic, you don't realize how brilliant it is. You just kind of take it for granted. And that's some of the best art is like that. I will say some of the pages on this reprint, the blacks are kind of faint, so I'm not a big fan of this. You can tell it's almost like a grayish. The black is kind of weak. So it would be fun to see this, you know, in a darker black in some way. Some of the pages are like, I think it's a printing error. But look at this right here. Look how brilliant this is. So the story of Zorro, I should talk a little bit about the story. You know, he's Batman, basically. He, again, I was going to say American-born, but Mexican-born nobleman, goes to Spain, learns the arts of, you know, elocution, you know, fencing, politics, economics, all those things, comes back to his estate where his father's been running it in California, and finds out that there is some corruption in the local government and military, police kind of group, and he's here to right the wrongs of the injustices of the governments and protect the little people. He's Batman. That's the whole Batman idea, is this rich guy who uses his skills to help others. His secret power is his brains, intellect, you know, physical prowess and agility, and his ability for disguises, right? And that's what this guy is. He's got this character, Bernardo, who is his mute. Well, he's not really deaf. He is mute, but he's not deaf, but he pretends to be deaf so that he can kind of go where others can't, things like that. So love these lines here. He does a great job of mixing brush with these little Rapidograph tech pens. That alone is kind of hard. I'm working on some pages now, and I don't know. I'm just looking at this second right now, and it's just like I'm mixing. I'm using brushes. I'm using tech pens, and I'm doing both. But some of it I just don't like. I just don't like the way it's coming out. This stuff is just super clean. Great sense of anatomy too, and expression of faces. This is some of his best stuff. It really is, as far as just a visual standpoint. Now, we're going to get to Bravo for Adventure later. I think that'll be episode 8 or so. Some people consider that his best, but I think this is just really, really good. And I almost finished it. I didn't finish it. It does feel sometimes a little repetitive just because they're these short little like adventure tales. But I think if you just see, when I just read the whole thing, I think it gets like that. But maybe if you were to read one little short story once a week or once every couple days, it probably would be great. It's probably the way to do it instead of like reading it like a graphic novel, because it's not really a graphic novel. You know, it's not really made for that. Just some great positioning. This is a really great little shot too. I really like this. He is a brilliant guy of putting silhouettes. He really kind of uses a lot of those Wally Wood, 24 frames or 24 panels that always work kind of a deal, which I think really work well for this kind of book. So here's like the next story. This is all, of course, Disney Western did this. And I think it started out really good for him. And then he just like had enough. Okay, check out the texture too. While using brushes, he does a great job of adding this texture of all the plants and here too. So there's a lot of depth here. I mean, this is really well rendered, really well done. Look at the texture on the stone adobe kind of like parts of the buildings. It's just really well done. And here the stained glass with the tech pen, really, and then the black stone around it. So he could have just made that all black, but you put in those little textures and add so much depth to it. His folds are great. It's very simple. You look at this stuff and then you look at things like Jean-Paul Leon, his work. Jean-Paul Leon, his work to me looks a lot like Toth. The brush work he does, the blacks he spots, he must have studied Toth. I mean, him, also Tommy Lee Edwards is another one who has kind of a Toth brush and style. Paul Pope is more organic. I think he's probably seen some taupe and used taupe, but I feel that he puts a little bit more organic line to his work, where Toth will be a little bit more geometric with faces and features. That's just my thought. Toth is a little more blocky, and Paul Pope's a little more lyrical in his line. This is great. His silhouette stuff is great, man. I just do not know how to do it like this, but it's wonderful. Look at that fun little smirk, wink, wink to the camera there. And these grays really add a lot to the story as well. It just adds a lot more dimension to the thing. Basically, Zorro is battling, the Comandante. The Comandante, who's kind of in charge of, this is all, by the way, in San Fernando Valley, Los Angeles area, that whole Southern California. And they're kind of battling it out. They're looking for Zorro. He, of course, pretends to be, this pansy who can't fight, who's just into poetry and pacifism, when in actuality, he's not only that, but he's this swashbuckling hero. So he's always kind of thwarting the Comandante and Garcia, who's the second command soldier / police officer. And so there's just this battle of wits, and as you would imagine, Zorro gets the upper hand, always kind of figures it out, using his trusty aide, Bernardo, or someone else to play decoy or something. Look at that. Doesn't that look like Errol Flynn right there? Just some great shots. So there's always this kind of tit for tat, little mystery and little solve that he does. Great costuming too, by the way. The costumes of the characters really well done, really kind of interesting. And I really do like his faces. That looks like George Lucas right there. I love the hair. Hair's really great work, and the face is simple but real well done. Positioning of these bodies. I don't think he was a big, photography, reference guy. I think he used references. I think he did a lot of live sketching, but I don't think he was a photo guy. So he did this, I think, just from his mind and knowing the figure and knowing how it looks. I definitely recommend this for Toth fans, and I like this version because it's actually a little bit bigger than a normal comic book size. So it's a little bit bigger. I think this is a 9 by 11 or 9 by 12, and so this is a little bigger sized. You can kind of see the art really nice. Definitely recommend it if you just some really great work in here. Some of his best stuff. Okay. Look at that. I love these profiles and stuff. So there you go. Just a quick video, this episode, this part. Definitely one of his biggest projects. I mean, we've talked about standard comics before. There's more pages in standard comics, but that was 2 years, a lot of different issues. This is just Zorro. You know, this is just his work. It's all him, art-wise. And I think it's some of his best. I'm going to keep saying that because as we go throughout his career, we're going to keep saying, okay, this tops that, this tops that, this tops that, and it just keeps going and going and going. But this is great work for Alex Toth. There you go, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching this series. We're going to continue it. We're going to keep going with the IDW books, and we're going to talk about next in 2 episodes, we're going to talk about Bravo for Adventure. Thank you guys so much for watching. Check out my other videos. I'm talking about heavy metal issues and modern comics, old stuff. I do some live comic drawing on my own at nighttime you can check out, and all that kind of stuff. So thanks a lot for watching, and have a great day.